Hi everyone. So we are going to continue our reading from where we left off. We're in the last section of the book of Matthew in chapter 5. And before we proceed with that, let's recall what we've read so far. So in the book of Matthew chapter 5, it details Jesus' teachings to his disciples. And of course, there was a crowd that gathered around them. And Jesus begins to teach about a lot of key details about the kingdom of heaven by starting his sermon with the Beatitudes and pronouncing blessings and giving us insights and key highlights of how we're supposed to live as members of the kingdom of heaven. He proceeded to give us designation as to who we're supposed to be as salt and light, and then he addressed the law. In that addressing of the law, Jesus also broke down some of the key aspects wherein he wanted to not only give us an understanding of what the law entails, but he wanted to show us the fulfillment of the law in all of the teachings that we just read. He taught about anger. He taught about adultery, he taught about divorce, he taught about vows, he taught about revenge, and now his teaching is about teaching about loving our enemies. And it begins in verse 43 and concludes in verse 48. And it says, "You have heard the law that says, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you. In that way, you will be acting as true children of your Father in heaven. For he gives his sunlight to both the evil and the good, and he sends rain on the just and unjust alike. If you love only those who love you, what reward is there for that? Even corrupt tax collectors do that much. If you are kind only to your friends, how are you different from anyone else? Even pagans do that. But you are perfect. You are to be perfect." That's what it says. "Even as your Father in heaven is perfect." What a perfect conclusion to Matthew chapter 5. So one of the key things that I wanted to highlight there is every one of these teachings that Jesus taught, he added additional layers to it. And that was the fulfillment he talked about earlier on when he was addressing the law. And it stems from what he said to his disciples in verse 17, wherein he was addressing the law. And it says, "But I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." So he is expecting that we do more than the law requires of us. More. He's saying that the law says, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say, Jesus says, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you. So again, a radical change, a radical difference with how we will approach things and how he will approach things. And I think that in this walk, I think it's important to highlight that we as human beings are unable to fulfill some of these things or do most of these things. Only Jesus can. I know I don't have the heart posture to do that. So consistently am I asking Jesus, how do I go about this? How do I love more? Give me your heart. Let me be like you. Show me how I can be like you. Show me how I can treat others like you. Show me how I can my heart can love like you. Give me your heart that I may actually carry and express your heart in everything I do. And I think it's a fantastic prayer for you to consistently ask the Lord to transform the very heart. Because there's something about doing good to your enemies and loving your enemies that eventually transform the very heart that you carry. And it places a seed onto the one that you have done good to. It was really great to actually see the portrayal of our Father's character here, where he said, but you are to be perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. Our Father in heaven gives sunlight to both the evil and the good. Our Father in heaven sends rain on the just and on the unjust. So if we are sitting and trying to hold on to somebody that has done wrong to us, and that person had the opportunity of giving their life to Christ, and you still sit on that unforgiveness and thinking that the Lord's wrath should come upon that person, think again, because he loves us all, and then he pours out his rain and his sunlight upon the evil and the good as well. That's how good he is, and he expects us to follow in that same footstep. So I leave you with that today. And I cannot wait to actually proceed in the book of Matthew in chapter 6. Actually, we're moving on to chapter 6. And I think that Matthew chapter 5 needs more dwelling. And if you have your own free time, definitely go back and revert back to it and ask the Holy Spirit to guide you through it. There's just something pure about how Jesus wants us to love the way he loves. So I leave you with that tonight, and I will talk to you later. Bye.